Hey guys, what's Gump here? Today I'm going to discuss about StarCraft, my experience playing it growing up as a child, what I think of Blizzard now versus 1998, and what fun in video games should look like. So to give you some context, growing up in the early 2000s, I was born in 99, so I was a year late ahead of StarCraft when it released for I believe Mac and DOS in that sort of computer gaming era where it was like you had the best computer and you had to like make do with it. But anyway, my brother introduced me to a lot of video games growing up. So first at Halo, then Legend of Zelda, and then StarCraft. And if I remember correctly, in 2004, 2005, 2006, around that area, I remember I was in the kitchen of a house I used to live in, holding the CD case, like those plastic CD cases that PC games used to come in, of StarCraft, and just looking at the back and just like mesmerized by the art cover and like what it was, and also that phenomenal like video game art that you see at the front where it has like the Protoss in the middle, the Zerg on the left, and then the Terran Marine on the right. And that really captivated my like young imaginative gaming brain because the thing about video games back in the late 90s to early 2000s is they were built on the foundation principle of having fun. There was no shareholders, there was no business to be made out of. Like, sure, there was business, and that is to make video games and sell them. But in terms of like the authenticity and like integrity of these video games was really high par above what we play in modern gaming in the year 2024. And so playing StarCraft, for I remember at my great grandmother's house when I used to live in Lubbock, it was very a really fun RTS game for someone at my age, and my brother and I used to play a lot. Like we just take turns just playing it. And the thing you gotta realize was this game is not meant for like casuals like myself. Like I had to learn the ins and outs of an RTS game, and I think looking back, I certainly was a little bit messy with how I used to play these games. But I remember there's two things to take away from what I remember from this game. That is the original soundtrack, which is absolutely phenomenal. I think Glenn Stanford like was a really magic composer back then, and the gameplay, and in terms of like narrative and cutscenes and all that. What I remember every time I look at StarCraft, I look at my younger self really passionately, just playing it like a lot, and I recently got back into playing it as well. Like at the early, like the start of this year, I probably invested like a good like 30 or so hours into it because I was just so captivated by as an adult now just learning like what the game was and what it was intended to compared to like other Blizzard games of that time like Warcraft, Diablo, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like there was like those big three in the 1990s that Blizzard really like cooked to innovative gaming industry. With uh with Diablo bringing like extranet, like with BlizzNet, like they introduced like I think it was like online gaming because this was like at the time when other gamings use like third party softwares or something like that to connect with other people. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I'm sorry. There's just so much to talk about StarCraft. What I remember most is like the lines from the game that your troopers would say or whatever, like bases under attack. The warriors have engaged with the enemy, or evolution complete. Like like it's just those really cheesy like classic 90s audio that you will remember a lot playing as a kid. And I especially love playing as the Terrans because they were just like like as a kid you look at them and you see like epic space soldiers like the same way you look at Master Chief and Halo and you're like, wow, these people look really awesome and cool. And then you look at the Protoss and you see they're like an ancient mystical alien race just bent on like defeating the Zerg, which are like these like insectoid like skull skeletal like bug creatures or whatever. Because they're it's just like your sci-fi. Like you gotta have some kind of evil bug spaces. You gotta have some evil bugs in space and or like demon on conquering the world. And so yeah, other than that, I mean, it really was a game of its time. Like it's listed as like one of the most important video games of all because it really brought the RTS name to the mainstream. Like sure you had Command and Conquer and Age of Empires, and while those games were really fun and grew like a whole niche culture, StarCraft is where it really brought the whole RTS and the media because before that you had like Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, which by the way, thinking now, I think I used to play Warcraft 3 on my brother's laptop or something like that. I think it was really like around late 2000s, early 2010s, so not long after like a decade after each game came out. And so particularly StarCraft is the one I remember the most vividly because the thing is it has like a lot of charm, a lot of passion, and that leads me into discussing modern day Blizzard with 1999 Blizzard because this one is hell bent on making money and profit and just pleasing fans for the sake of pleasing in order to stay consistent. While 1998 Blizzard was a group of people in Washington, I think that's where their headquarters is, who really wanted to make video games for the PC marketing, and they really brought out like a lot of fun like mainstream games for everyone to play. Like again, like Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, like those were like the pinnacle giants of PC gaming before like Valve with Half-Life and everything. And it's just crazy to think that gaming nowadays, like sure it can have some fun potential, like with Helldivers 2, like emphasis on fun and cooperation, or any games that like really introduce these young talented like artists into the gaming sphere and like show them potentials and how they can do. But I think looking back now as an adult and how Blizzard has evolved, I think they really lost that charm. And I know everybody has abandoned ship with having hope for Blizzard, especially after like everything PR related has gone. And like, and it's not them to blame, like the audience. It's not the fans who are to blame. It's Blizzard itself because I think what modern games need to be able or to have fun is to have a really phenomenal soundtrack like StarCraft because that's like one of the most artistic and intrinsical values as human beings that we love. We are pleased by music. We are pleased by iconic images or sounds like sensories. And then the next is gameplay. And how do you make an RTS game really fun compared to something like Civilization or Hearts of Iron, where it's really complex and you have to like really learn the ins and outs of the game. You can't just go into the shallow water and expect to like, or the deep water to master the game in less than like 10 hours, because that's not how video games are meant to be played. They're meant to be enjoyed, they're meant to be consumed. And so StarCraft really is the pinnacle of just having fun, and I think that really brings me like a lot of happiness and like vivid memories of just playing it. And the thing I remember very vividly the most from StarCraft in the in the main game are like the cinematics. Like you noticed how there's for each episode there's like at least 2 to 3 cinematics because they really want to introduce the world to you. They want to show you what it's like in the year 2499, which by the way that's when StarCraft takes place. um, and so these like 90s CGI really captivates a lot of the audience and it really brings a storytelling there. And that's one thing I want to bring up. When you look at StarCraft 2, which I recently got into starting playing, I've been kind of enjoying it like, in terms of gameplay, but story-wise, I see there's a huge, distinct, compelling way structure that Blizzard has with between StarCraft One and StarCraft Two. In StarCraft One, the way the gameplay was presented was you had a cutscene, right, or you had like some like radio room to tell you, like, bring you up to date about what's going on, which by the way is really good to have a player to invest into your game because it really engages a lot more than just simply sitting back and watching a cutscene and then just what happened, like what's going on, like who are these people, like StarCraft 2 cinematics are more cinematic blockbuster actually, and don't get me wrong, they look beautiful, but in terms of gameplay philosophy, they could like dial it down like a little bit and bring that like ready room back. And when I mean ready room, it's like like those segments where you're in a room with like a bunch of like important figures and characters, and then you're talking about like what's gonna happen. Like you're planning, like it's like it's like a boarding room, like for strategy militarists when they're like in a room and they're trying to set up like their strategy. Like it's kind of similar like that, and it's a very good representation on how to approach the RTS way because compared to before, at least from what I played, like the first Command and Conquer remastered, their gameplay wise was just like cinematic. Then you go into the gameplay, but for StarCraft, it was like cinematic, ready room, gameplay. You know what I'm saying? Like it really was like a unique way on the RTS. And even though the genre is dead, except for like a little re-innovation because Age of Empires 4 just came back, and that really like got the energy in the RTS genre to stay alive for a little bit. And then you got like new up and coming games like what is it? What was that? Stormgate. I think that's one of the up and coming projects. But anyway, the whole deal with StarCraft is it was really memorable. It was really a legacy to look and dissect about how what video games were, how were they made, what can we learn or take notes from their philosophy, especially from Blizzard, who were once like the king of PC gaming, because this was before WoW, this was before Overwatch, where the entire world wasn't like investing like into hours of grindiness, but instead like enjoying and relaxing the game. So anyway, that's why I wanted to talk about. I wanted to like mention my like most vivid and admirable thoughts like on the game and what it was back then. And I still listen to the original soundtrack. I think that soundtrack really was phenomenal. It's on the same par with Halo, because it doesn't get dull, it doesn't get tiresome. It sticks with you, and every time like one vivid imagery or one sensory clicks in, it really brings you back into the mindset of what it was like to be a PC gamer in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so yeah, I'd say give it a try. Like go try StarCraft. It's really fun, and I hope you guys like this video, comment it, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Twitch. I stream every day, and that's about it. I'll see you guys later. Peace.